NERDSoul.
Yeah, late ill kid at OneYoungsta, hold it down, bringing that street geek and nerd soul. What is up, my people? Today or year, another wonderful episode of NERDSoul Gaming, and of course, I'm not by myself. We got an awesome guest. You know what I'm saying? Right with us here in fighting spirit. I give to you open mind. What's up, man?
What is the deal, Nerd Soul family? It's your boy Open Mind in the building, and I'm coming with y'all with the Black Power Fist today. Right? I'm black, y'all.
Oh yeah,
I'm black,
that's
y'all.
what I'm talking about. That's
And
what
I'm
I'm
black,
talking about.
and I'm black.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Put that
But-
power fist up. You know what I'm saying?
But
That's what
nerd,
it's all
this
about.
is you. I'm giving this is 100% you and your influence on me, because the more I talk to you, just in general, like we just had this general conversation. Some of the things you say to me, I don't think about it until you say it, and then I start looking, and I'm like, "Yo, nerd be on something." Like it's not no one thing; it's just as a whole. And then I start looking at stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I got an issue. I'm starting to think.
It's like, you know what? I think I got a slight issue with this.
So it's a positive influence. You're rubbing off on me, nerd. You're rubbing
Oh,
off.
word. Well, hey, man, same thing here. Like it's tons of stuff that usually I don't get into the dev side and stuff like that. Now I'm like, let me get to this. And there's some things on the topic today that I'm like, I think would make a lot of sense on the dev side, especially with the arguments that you have. But so people know, today what we're talking about at large is black representation in the FGC, or misrepresentation in the FGC in fighting games, not in the community, not like the people. Well,
Just
that's a whole
fighting
nother argument. That's
Just
a whole nother
fighting.
show. But this is about the fighting game characters.
Got to be clear now, because people be like, "Wait a minute, it's black people in gaming." No, we are this sniper bullet is for FGC. That's it. Everybody ain't no collateral damage. Ain't no drive-by shooting. I'm shooting directly at the FGC.
Yeah, this is about black characters,
Right?
And their representation or misrepresentation in the FGC. And I know you had a lot of thoughts about this, and I've been brewing about a couple of things too. So I wanted to see where you were coming from. So of course, you know what I'm saying, go on and set it off.
Well, I say this. We could start off by being. I'm gonna start off by being positive. Before I go in negative and go hard and start shooting my gun, let me highlight some of those who have represented black folks, right? Let's say Capcom, right? Capcom continues to show respect, if nothing else, for the black community. When they give us a black character, the character is actually black, not Japanese with dark skin, but it's actually a black person that it has some real life innuendos and nuances about the character. Like take Sean, for example. Sean plays basketball. That's not, we could say stereotypical, but if you look at the 90s, when Sean came out for Street Fighter, the 90s era was the basketball era, right? So
yeah, it was, we had the N1 and all that.
Right. So Street Fighter Third Strike at the time of its release was just trying to keep up with the time and trying to give us whatever was happening during that time. That character is going to represent that kind of culture, that kind of genre. Sean represented the basketball culture, plus his character, his backstory, all of that thing about Sean. That's a melanated character with some actual, he's not stereotypical or cliche. You know what I'm saying? Like generic. That's the word. He's not a generic black person. Just like Mr. Popo type of situation. And then, all right. So not Street Fighter 5 so much. Street Fighter 5 was more so fan service to me than it was anything else, because of course 4, right? 4 definitely represents black people. Like you can take Dudley, you take DJ, Balrog is always a staple. Who's another black character in Street Fighter 4? Black character, just melanated. Elena.
4?
Elena.
Elena's in 4? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Street Fighter 4. She's in Street Fighter 3 as well, because when I say black, we include African, right? If your character If your character doesn't have to be American black, like African American.
Yeah.
Character can be African, of African descent, if that's what you choose to do. If you're gonna paint your character with brown skin, but you want to give them African features instead of African American features, I'm okay with that too. Just represent us right. Don't paint the color palette of your character brown, but then they got on a samurai outfit, right? They got on a seafood grandmaster outfit, right? Right. The clothing is just you telling me that, all right, I'm gonna give you your little brown character, but we still gonna put him. He gonna still have the Chinese grandmaster. Like, no, that's not a black man. That's a dark skinned Chinese man. That's a dark skinned Japanese man, right? So
now I will say one thing real quick, because I don't know if this is true, but I remember someone going on about Sean saying that Laura is his sister, right?
Yeah.
And saying that in the story mode of 5, they kind of sort of recanonized him a little bit lighter in her story. So, because of course Laura looks more like a Brazilian of Portuguese descent than a Brazilian of African descent. But I haven't seen her story, so I'm not sure.
Just to give Capcom and Street Fighter 5 specifically, give them just a little bit of leeway. All right, take a light-skinned sister, right? A light-skinned, fair-skinned African American sister. It's hard to put her in a video game and she don't look like Caucasian, right? Because color palette and actual skin pigmentation is hard to capture. It's either brown or it's peach colored, light. You got the way. And that's just a digital computers graphics trying its best,
like the RGB kind of thing,
right? So when you look at Laura, for example, they got her coming out of Brazil and stuff like that, in like a Brazilian background, but that's also, that same story is in Street Fighter 3. It's not, they didn't redo anything, they just introduced Charm's sister, right?
Okay.
And that doesn't make Laura any less of a melanated person, right? Because we talking about melanin, people of color. We're not just talking about black.
Yeah, what
right?
I'm saying is I think the person's argument was more on the colorist side than the fact of the,
and I'm not on
kind
the
of
color
like him.
side. I'm on the culture side, right?
All right, word up.
That's what my thing is with it. Color, like I said, take a light skinned sister. She light skinned in real life. What does she look like in a video game? She looks like a white girl, or a character with light skin whose facial features you can't tell if they of African descent or not because of the light skin. So we have to. I don't have to have dark skin features to know that the character is of African descent. I'm gonna know that by the way you present the character to me, by the outfits that you put on, by the language that they're using, the voice actor you use to give to the character. So if you got a character whose skin isn't brown, but they have some Negro features, so to speak, the person voice acting that character should be a Negro. Even if the character's skin isn't brown, they have fair skin, because in real life this character would be of light skin and fair skin, but they have the nose and the lips and all of the features, as well as the culture. Then you can represent, because the keyword today is representation. I don't need you to paint the skin dark necessarily, as I need you to make the character a realistic representation of us. And if you don't know us, you're a dev and you don't really know black culture, ask questions. Stop letting the ruling class tell you about other culture. Talk to the culture. How is it that you can get? Go ahead.
Right there, I want to say that point. Perfect statement. And here's the reason why I have a problem with a lot of devs. All right, most people will be like, hey, well, they're Japanese, they make games for Japanese people. And normally I would give that to you, but since we have podcasts like Harada's Bar, we hear how interested they are in the American and Western market. Right. Well, if they're so interested in the American and Western market, then that means they need to be doing either research or speaking to or being consulted by Black people in those areas to let them know what black is and what black isn't in that area.
If nothing else but a consultant. If that's all you're doing, is a consultation, do that.
Yes.
And pay that person, male or female individual, who coming into your office to give you black culture information. Pay them. You know what I'm saying? Because here's why I would dismiss that argument you said about it was Japanese people that make a Japanese game. Here's why I dismiss that. Because if you look at the characters that they give you in any game that you're talking about, they always try to represent them other cultures. Whether it's an Italian character, a German character, a Russian character, a Chinese character, because Japanese and Chinese are not the same. But a lot of fight games has a character of Chinese descent, and trust me, they get the Chinese descent character right.
They sure do.
You see what I'm saying? They make sure to represent the culture of China with the said character, male or female, right? Whatever. Chun-Li gets her Chinese representation.
True that.
Chun-Li don't miss a beat, and that's not China. That's not Japan. That's China. So what did the Chinese culture do to scare Japanese into making sure that there's a representation of their culture properly in their game? What did they do? What did the Italians do? What did Germans do? What did Russians do? These other cultures, because when you play a Japanese-made game, the character roster is not all Japanese characters. The language may be in Japanese, right? The subtitles. But each character itself has a background. It'll tell you where the character is from. Born and raised. This character is born in Germany. This character is born in Moscow. This character was born in Italy. This character was born in Middle East. Like, that Japan gets the cultures right that they get right, but they get ours wrong. Take Tekken, for example.
Consistently.
Yeah. Take Rashid, for example, in Street Fighter V. Rashid is Middle East, right? Rashid is wearing Middle Eastern garb, right? Even his alternate costumes have Middle Eastern tones to them, right? The Middle Eastern people are represented when it comes to Rashid in Street Fighter V, right? And then you can go to the other Street Fighter renditions. You can take, that's what I said, Capcom. That's why I haven't even really went in on my rant yet. I'm still giving flowers. Capcom has been consistently doing it, not just Street Fighter. They've been consistently doing it. When they make a fighting game, they represent black folks right. At least if it's just one black character, that's all they give us is that one. That one black character is an actual black person that you can relate to. There's something
because
that you can see in your real life family member.
Yeah, because if you look, we got, when it comes to them now, of course, they ain't going to stack us in the game like everybody else.
No, we ain't,
you know what I'm saying?
Because when that's the only part I give them.
When you get Street Fighter, there's going to be like 8 blind characters.
Right.
And one black dude. but when you do see a black character, it's not basically, it's not a generic Japanese character, just brown. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, because like you said, through the years we had DJ, Sean, Balrog, Dudley. Even though I know there's arguments on whether Dudley is black or not, whether he's dark Indian,
I don't even know why
I'm not sure. I've seen the argument. I've seen the argument because they talk about the mustache, and I'm like, well, I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I believe Capcom said he was black, but maybe he's not. I don't know. But right now, Dudley black for the sake of this argument.
There are black people in Europe, okay, and they have that European accent. So Dudley's fine. He's a black man. He's just a European black man. Said,
so
as
Elena,
long as you represent us right.
Let's see what else. Elena, that might be it. Unless I'm overlooking someone.
It's more. Those are like the go-to popular names. There's more characters that they're in Capcom games that were just
because I'm thinking of just Street Fighter. The Capcom games at large.
That's why I said Capcom as a company, not just Street Fighter.
Now I ain't going front. Kimberly, I ain't going front. I've been watching her video over and over.
I was about to bring her up.
Man,
that's a good representation.
they might have a purchase.
I'm saying, like, if you think about it, that's why I said Capcom, if nobody else as a company has done right by black folks. I have nothing negative to say about Capcom and how they represent the African American or the African. We'll just say African because it's all the African characters in Capcom games are represented right. I have no black power fist to pump at Capcom.
All right, so who the first person we gonna pump at now?
We gonna pump the first person at Tekken, Harada. Let's start with Harada, right? And let's go back to Tekken 1. There has not been proper African representation in Tekken since Tekken 1. And I want you and anybody in the comment section, comment in the comment section a black character that was represented right. And I say black, I mean African. And African of descent. It could be African American, African, European African.
Now you know they're gonna come at you because they're gonna say, "Hey man, if it wasn't for Eddie, the whole world wouldn't know about capoeira like that." You know what I'm saying? I know they had that movie Only the Strong, but I feel like Tekken was stronger. You know what I'm saying?
Eddie is one, but Eddie didn't come till Tekken 3.
True. We had two whole games.
You got Bruce Irving, but Bruce Irving is one. And Bruce Irving is a generic African. That's generic. Bruce Irving is not like any other black man you ever see. Look at Bruce Irving's backstory, right? Anything to do with Bruce Irving, Tekken 2, Tekken 3, or Tekken 2, Tekken Tag, because he was in Tekken 2, but he didn't come back till Tekken Tag tournament. So Bruce Irving was the black character in Tekken, the early versions, Tekken 2. He was just a Japanese, he was a Thai fighter from Thailand with brown skin, right? Because he was generic. There's nothing African about Bruce. There's nothing.
And then another thing Tekken does, unfortunately, is Tekken does the thing where we all know each other. Because didn't Tekken create like two more characters that were related to Eddie? Like it's almost like they were like,
but that's yet another light skin, fair skin. Like you trying to take a Brazilian. Like the thing about Eddie is, I'm gonna leave Eddie alone. I'm still not gonna claim him. The reason I'm gonna leave Eddie alone is because he is melanated, and Brazilian people are melanated people. They are people of color. They might not want to own their Africanism, but I don't care. So I'm really not gonna like beat them down. A male Brazilian skin is brown, right? Yeah. But his hair is straight and thin. His hair ain't kinky and nappy like ours.
Well, so, I thought he had the dreads in the first game. He ain't. I mean, in the third game. I'm
talking about like a realistic Brazilian man. I ain't talking about like the game dread, right? Yeah, I'm saying if we just trying to give Harada a break with Eddie, and then you take a real life Brazilian man who knows capoeira, go to Brazil. Some of their skin is dark. Some of them men have brown skin.
Yeah, because
because of the sun.
Due to the practice of Portuguese slavers, you have Brazilians that are dark, basically black, just like you and I, or you have Brazilians that are light and Caucasian. So we won't go any further in that.
I give them Eddie. I'm not gonna give them shit about Eddie, but Bruce Irving is not black representation, right? So now let's take. So they took Eddie off and put Christy in. So there was a Tekken game. I think it was Tekken 4. Yep, Tekken 4. Did not. And
they did the colorism thing with Christy too.
Yeah, they made her light skin, light. She almost wasn't even a sister. So there's a couple of Tekken games that didn't have no African characters at all. African men know how to fight.
Tekken be having like 1 million characters per game, son.
Right.
Like,
they be having a lot of
keep it real with y'all.
There's no reason
Tekken be having like 85 characters per
game. At
game.
least 3 Africans in the Tekken 7 roster is a total of 48 characters. 48 total.
Jesus.
Out of 48 characters, you could have gave me 3 Africans. 3 Africans. I only want 3. You got 48 character roster. Tekken 7. 3 of them could have been African. 1 female, 1 male, maybe a goblin or monster or something, but Africanize the character, right? Africanize the character, whether it be African American, African, European African, I don't care. Give me Africa in the game. Now, let's go to Leroy Smith, for example. Okay, there's obvious racism in the FGC towards Leroy Smith, right? They want to make it seem like Leroy Smith is OP because Wing Chun and he's too hard to beat. Well, all of the gripes that the FGC has for Leroy Smith since he came out. He's been the most nerfed character since the release of DLC. It's been a lot of DLC in Tekken 7, right? You got Negan with a nail bat. You got Kunimitsu. You got Noctis with the swords and all the stuff. You got Akuma. You got Geese. You got all these DLCs, right? Every time a patch comes out, since the release of Leroy Smith, he's been the most nerfed character. The most picked at and tweaked and scaled back and weakened character. And then other characters have been boosted and strengthened, right? It seems like they make Leroy just so that they can make a joke out of him. Here's your black character. Now let's make him weak and let's make everybody beat up on him. And make fun of him and laugh at him. Leroy is the most hated character. How come we don't hate Kazuya? How come they don't hate Jin? How come they don't hate Heihachi? How come they don't hate? They hate Leroy. Is a hatred for Leroy Smith, and they want to disguise it as, well, the character is Leroy Smith is OP and unfair and unbalanced. That's what racists do. Racist people, bigoted people, don't come out and say they're racist and bigoted. They beat around and dance around it, and they nitpick and find excuses for every little mistake you make. They write up on you. You get the biggest sentence for the smallest thing. They're either going to over exaggerate your mistake or they're going to make your mistake bigger than what it is. That is what racist people do. They're not going to call you a NIGGR to your face. They're not going to call you a porch monkey. They're going to treat you like one.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you to prove that they're being written. And you only get that energy from a person that you know is bigoted towards you. Outside of that, they have none of that energy for anybody else, just you. And I see it. Leroy Smith came out, let's see, it's 2022. He came out in 2019, I want to say, right? 2019, 2020, something like that, right? Of the 2.5 years, almost 3 years that Leroy has been released, he's been the most hated. I'm talking about, he's been called the N-word in chat rooms, in comment sections.
I know that.
On my mic. Like they don't have all these racial innuendos for any other character on the roster.
Nope.
And so it's like, and then you take the devs who listen to the community and go into their office and nerf the hell out of Leroy Smith. And it's like, okay, so this ain't got nothing to do with the character being OP. This is everything to do with this character, because Leroy actually does represent black people. But here's the caveat. He's like Uncle Leroy. He's like your little uncle that's just out here just minding his business and beating up on people who step to him and disrespect him. But here's the thing. The community hates Leroy. Why? What did Leroy Smith do? Leroy Smith is a cool character. He has a cool backstory. What you hate him for? Oh, because he's stronger and better than everybody on the roster, and you don't like that. You want it to be Kazuya. You want it to be Jin. You want it to be Paul Phoenix. Whatever that King. You don't want it to be this Negro with dreadlocks. You don't want it to be him. So you've been trash and complain and whine and cry and threaten and just really just make a mountain out of a molehill about Leroy Smith. They just put out a patch the other day. That's why I wish the homie Groovy Guy could have joined us today. He was supposed to join us on the show, but something came up. Shout out to Groovy Guy. I quit playing Tekken when DNF Duel came out back in June 28th. And Leroy Smith was my character, so I really don't know how these nerfs feel, but he does. He's still been playing, and it's just yet another patch. As of 2 days ago, Leroy Smith has been nerfed again. As of 2 days ago.
And here's the thing.
4 days by the time this video come out, maybe 4 days, but 2 days ago, he's been nerfed again.
And straight up, if you think that Harada and the devs don't know, don't see, don't hear the racist vitriol
They hear it.
towards either Leroy or Leroy players, you're wrong. Trust
They
me.
hear it.
They see it. They don't care.
They don't care.
Because if they cared, they would have made a statement about it, or they wouldn't have nerfed them to try to make racist players happy. And it's like, there's too many games out there for me to care, for me to buy a game where the devs are continually trying to make racists happy.
Listen, I deleted Tekken out of my hard drive. Now, it's still in the cloud because once you buy it, you own it forever.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got it.
But I still, I'm not. It's not a game that's sitting in my hard drive. Like I don't play it no more. And I'm really on the fence about Tekken 8. Should I play it? How y'all going to represent not just Leroy Smith? Are you gonna give me a black character other than Leroy Smith that's gonna represent Africanism? Are you gonna give me an Africanized character? What does Africanized mean, right? So let me explain that, because people will hear that word and automatically think kente cloth. No, that's not what that means. Africanized means you have to encompass everything that's African, whether it's from Africa, African American, like the urban areas, or European Africa, right? Or Brazilian.
But so you don't mean Nancy Pelosi taking a knee?
No.
In the Capitol.
you could go to island of Jamaica. Like DJ is an Africanized. DJ is an example of an Africanized character, right?
Yeah.
He's not from Africa. He's from Jamaica, but he's Africanized, right? And this is for the people who does not have melanin and don't know what I mean. They just hear the word Africanized, so their little brains turn on to Africa. No,
homie, gotta have a kufi with the cloth.
Anything that encompasses the black like diaspora, right? The whole diaspora of black. It encompasses the whole continent of Africa, all of the islands, Jamaica, Caribbean, and then Europe. Of course, America, anywhere in South America, Australia. You just have to do your research, and if you're not sure, right? Then there's nothing for you to reach out to black folks in America and let us just tell you about how we get down.
Yeah,
you interview.
The internet works.
The internet,
you know what I'm saying?
Do a poll, do a survey, whatever you want to do. There's a way to get information without looking like you're trying to get information. You just got to do it right, because you're doing it already with the characters that you have. You're just not doing it for the African characters. So it's not that it's not being done. It's just not being done for us. That's what I'm saying. Everything I'm saying is being done for other characters. It's not being done for black folks, and I don't understand why. You feel me?
I got an idea why. Because there's racism. Unfortunately, white supremacy has touched every part of the globe, and there's level of racism, even into unconscious bias. So there's parts where it's like, oh well, this team of devs isn't like carrying pitchforks and burning crosses, but their bias is that, oh well, we've done enough for them,
right? We've done enough. Be satisfied with what you got. But y'all consistently every game series you come out, you consistent with your representation for everybody else. Everybody else get represented in your game except us. You give us one, maybe two, but you got a roster full of Japanese people.
And if these devs care so much about the North American market, and the North American market, and even abroad with in the EU with your boy Ryan, I'm about to mess up his last name, I can't think of his name, but the FGC is full of black people, full of them,
a lot of the
mid-tier players, top players. We just saw IDOM, arguably we just saw IDOM, black man from America, probably have the best Evo run in recent history. Now, I know he did not win, but to beat the people back to back that he beat, it ain't easy.
Bro, Rob TV is unofficially the ambassador for the FGC, Rob TV. It's
Yep.
official
Shouts
now.
to Hollywood Rob.
If you saw Rob TV's little red carpet run where he was hosting an event, I don't really know all of the details of this event. I just know he was in Vanity Fair magazine and
Yeah.
he was out there
He
just
did
basically
it was some event that Variety threw, and I
right.
can't remember
So, but
what
here's
it
the thing:
was.
he is famous for gaming.
Yep.
Right in the FGC, all of that thing he did with his little black shirt on, his little button-up shirt, looking like a model. All of that was to represent the FGC.
Yo,
right?
And you got to give it to him because he could have turned his back and pretend like he ain't know us.
He could have turned his back and said, "F the FGC. I'm famous now. I'm about to be a movie star. I don't know what y'all talking about. I don't know y'all. Y'all beneath me." He could have did that, but he didn't. Rob TV is a solid dude, right? He's not LTG. He's not Punk the God. Rob TV was like, you know what? I'm not the best in the world, but I can get down on these fighting games. But it doesn't really matter because we doing this like Rob TV is just straight up like he's a breath of fresh air. And he just so happens to be not just a brown skinned melanated guy. Rob TV is an actual representation of black people. Real life. He's not a game character, but in real life, he's a good representation. So with that said, right, if nothing else, devs, sit down and have a conversation with Rob TV about black people. Because you could do it. You could call him right now. That's somebody you can talk to. You just choosing not to. Why come that conversation didn't come up? How come you mean tell me Rob TV sat in the same room with the devs that made Street Fighter V? The two devs that played with Maximilian Dude took a picture with Rob TV. They let Rob TV play Street Fighter 6 and do all that. They came in and did an interview with Rob TV. Okay, so you have access to this Negro, this black man, this blackity black man, Rob TV. And you mean to tell me before you put Street Fighter 6 out, now I can say Street Fighter 6, because Capcom ain't doing this. But Rob TV plays other games. You're telling me that you got this black man who plays fighting games, who's representative of the FGC. You can't get nobody on the phone, Dev, and say, all right, we want to make a character, male or female. We want to make sure we represent African culture right? Now, maybe you're not the spokesperson for all black people. What can you tell us about black people that can help better this character? This is a good start-off interview question for a dev that really genuinely care about us. Instead of just some generic 3D model that just doesn't have any color to it yet. It's just a 3D model of a character that you're creating. And then when you start coloring it, you just color their skin brown. But they backstory ain't nothing to do with African. They strayed away, found them under a gutter somewhere, and they grew up in your culture and adopted the other. It's like the black character. Let's take Nagori Yuki for example. Jump on Guilty Gear Strive. Right?
We're gonna pump the black fist we're gonna pump the black fist at Guilty Gear real quick.
This is now we pumping black fist now. Now I didn't give enough flowers. I'm pumping my fist. Guilty Gear Strive as an example of a failed representation. Nagori Yuki is a vampire who, I don't know all of the stories. Of course, y'all can know the story better than me if you know this lore. He's a vampire that grew up in Japan, right? His outfit is a samurai's outfit. There are no samurais in Africa. There's a bunch of samurais in Japan, but there's no samurais in Africa. Now, there was a samurai named Yashiko or Yasuki, something like that. Yasuke. That samurai, right, was abandoned at some point and found himself in the cold wilderness of Japan. Instead of them killing him, they brought him in and he taught him his ways and he learned the ways of the samurai. This black man samurai who they called Yasuke. We don't really know the man's name because the Japanese person who wrote the story of Yasuke told it from a Japanese perspective.
Yeah.
So we don't really know this black man who is, even now, mind you, Japan does respect him. He's in their lore, he's in their history, he's part of their historical culture. He's got his own statue in their museums and everything. What I'm saying is, he has been Japanesed, right? He is not an African man anymore. His skin is brown, but Japanese has taken him in as theirs. This black man Yasuke, who thousands of years ago old, who was a samurai, one of their well-respected samurais. He is a samurai. Samurai is Japanese. Now I don't have an issue with Yasuke because that's a real life individual. I have an issue with Nagoriyuki trying to pay homage to that. So basically, Japan, you did your research on Yasuke. You're trying to make Nagoriyuki be like a good nod to Yasuke, right? Because what is Nagoriyuki? He's a samurai. Nagoriyuki is a samurai. He got a big long sword, and his sword is his best thing, and he's okay. But there's nothing African about Nagoriyuki. At least if you're gonna make Nagoriyuki a nod to Yasuke, your Japanese history, right? Then make another character in Guilty Gear that's just Africanized, however that looks. But, and I say this because you have two characters in Guilty Gear Strive that represent the LBGT community. Testament is non-binary, and Bridget is transgender. Mm-hmm. And they made it. They wanted us to know that. Like, I didn't ask for this information.
Yeah, they made sure to go out of their way to make sure that we knew.
Y'all way to let us know that Testament is non-binary and Bridget, the newly released DLC, is a transgender. So there's two people of the gay community in Guilty Gear Strive. There is nobody of the African community in Guilty Gear Strive. And I am saying
it's funny because you can see whenever big companies, because usually I get on Hollywood about this, but you can see like the company patting themselves on the back for the LGBTQ community. Right. They're like, look at us, guys. Look at us.
We got it right. See, we like gay people.
Look at what we did. Look at what we did. Look at what we did for you.
I'm sorry for cussing, but it gets me boiling because it's like when they start talking like this, first thing someone probably will call you is you homophobic or whatever. This ain't got nothing to do with gay people. I ain't got an issue with them. I'm cool with
this.
them.
This is about the system that keeps vaulting them above other groups that are already underserved.
I see what you did there. You went out of your way to represent the LGBTQ community by giving us Testament and Bridget. I see what you did there. But
nobody ever go out their way to represent us.
Where is the representation for us in all your little fighting games? Shout out to Jesse Correlated, by the way. This don't apply to you, Jesse. So if you listening, please, I know I should have said this at the top of the show.
Yeah, Corrupt already gonna be fly. We got love for Corrupt.
Jesse, if you're listening, we are not talking to you, bro. This don't apply to you, right? We know what you're doing. We talking about Guilty Gear. We talking about Grand Blue Fantasy. Grand Blue Fantasy.
I don't even think there's a brown face in that game.
There's not even a brown face in it. DNF Duel. Let's see.
Yeah, DNF Duel.
DNF Duel don't have no African representation, but that's the Arcsys game. So. Right, this is another Arcsys situation. I mean, let's see.
Melty.
I meant to say it's another game I wanted to throw a black power fist at as far as lack of representation. Even though nobody play it anymore. Two games. All
right.
Soul Calibur. There's no African representation in Soul Calibur. There's none.
Yep.
And Dead or Alive.
Oh yeah.
There is a black guy in Dead or Alive, but that's a generic black guy. Because don't know black people dress like that guy. Don't know black people talk like him. Don't know black people act like him. He's just a color palette, generic Japanese black dude in Dead or Alive. The one, because I know somebody who heard me say Dead or Alive. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Dead or Alive, you got a black guy in it. Yeah, it's a black guy in it, but he ain't African.
There's a character that's colored to be brown.
Colored brown. he's got a mohawk ponytail, bald headed with just a little bit of hair on his head, and he's typical. He's not black.
Yeah,
he's brown.
He's a basic 3D model that just happens to be brown, but he's not. They go out of their way to make sure that other cultures are represented with their cultures, so you can tell what culture they're from. But when it comes to a black character, they're like, oh, it don't matter, just any generic old person and just make them brown.
Right. And then not only do you make them brown, their skin, their backstory, like read up on them. Who's making the story for the character? Read the backstory. It's so generically unrealistic and nothing black about it, nothing African about it. The story of the character.
That's one thing. Even though I know we gave love to Capcom, I'm not going to take any love from Capcom, but that's one thing that kind of got me when I heard like Kimberly was trained by Guy. I was like, oh man, she could have just been nice, trained from someone in her neighborhood, and like came up. Like it had to be. But I know they like to connect their story points. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? I understand.
I don't have an issue with her being trained by Guy because Sean was trained by Ken.
Yeah. Which is kind of a slight issue, and this is why it's not that anything at the outset. It kind of goes crossing over to the comic book side. Every character of color is somehow tied to the Japanese heroism of a white character. And like Miss Marvel was inspired by Captain Marvel, who was a white woman, or Patriot was inspired by Captain America, who's a white man, or Miles Morales was inspired by Peter Parker, who's a white man. So it's like it's these things where it's like, you know, even Falcon was, you know, his best friend. He's the sidekick of, so you know, so it's like. There's these things that they do with black heroes a lot. Well, yeah. There's these things that they do with black characters a lot, where it's like their skill or talent or power has to come from being passed down from whiteness, or at least not from blackness to blackness. It can't just be like all right, T'Chaka and then his son T'Challa, and it's like, no, there ain't no whiteness in there. It's just like a black dad and now his black son, and everything's all good.
But Stan Lee, I'm gonna give Stan Lee his props on Marvel when it comes, because you said Spider-Man, but let me give Stan Lee his props because Blue Marvel. Blue Marvel is the most powerful Marvel character. He's just not talked about.
Yeah.
But Blue Marvel is more powerful than Sentry.
Yeah, dude is mad nice. Yeah, if you read,
look it up.
What is it? If you read the Ultimates, I'm trying to remember what year that was, like 2014 or something like that.
Blue Marvel and Sentry came to a standstill, and Sentry was the one who had to go back and recover while Blue Marvel was still standing.
Dang.
Read it up.
But check out Blue Marvel. He's in the most recent I remember him was in the Ultimates team up. It's like Blue Marvel, Black Panther, America Chavez. I think Captain Marvel was part of the team. It's a whole bunch of dope people, and they're all on the team.
Marvel is on the same part as Franklin Richards. That's according to, if you look at the lore, power level or power like evil, like in other words, Franklin Richards is who he is, but even Franklin Richards can't destroy Blue Marvel, and Blue Marvel can't destroy Franklin Richards. But at the same time, as far as this power level, Blue Marvel is equal footing, if not more powerful than Franklin Richards, bro. Like, but there's never gonna be a Blue Marvel movie because he's too powerful. This is a black man that's powerful. No black man had that much power.
Either that, or he's gonna be severely reduced. No. I mean, even honestly, Black Panther was kind of reduced, but I mean, we still love the movie. But I mean, even he kind of had to be reduced to a certain degree. But yeah, he died in the finger snap, right? He was the one that died in the finger snap. Get rid of the Negro, Now Chadwick Boseman died in real life, but I think if he was still alive, they probably would have found a way to bring him back. Like I think they would have did that. Yeah. But it's unfortunate that he died in real life. But if you think about it, they made sure that Black Panther got snapped in the finger snap. Yeah.
But Ant-Man get to survive. Like how Ant-Man survived a finger snap, but Black Panther didn't. Like, come on, and Thor survived the finger snap. Hulk and the usual suspects. But
Well,
Black
here's the
Panther made
deal.
sure they slapped him on that finger.
With that argument, Thanos does say it's gonna be fair and dispassionate, but somehow like mad white characters like our like our original Avengers stayed alive, right?
Yeah, all of the white Avengers was alive. The
Oh
Black Avengers
man.
died in a finger snap. Like, come on, put it like this. Here's another example. Black Widow. Didn't she survive the finger snap and Black Panther got to die? Y'all could have got rid of Black Widow. She did not have to.
Oh
She did not have to
man.
survive the finger snap,
Oh
right?
yes, you do.
If Thanos snapped his finger and killed half of everybody, half gonna live, half gonna die. How come whoever the writers were, y'all made sure her no powers having self made it and survived the finger snap? Like, come
Cause
on.
you think like, all right, maybe Tony be gone, but Cap was still here, and like Thor would be gone, and like, you know, but the Hulk would still be here. No, everybody, all the originals somehow they made it.
They
And then
They made sure to get rid of Black Panther because that movie did so well. So they made sure to kill him off in Avengers 3 Endgame. Oh,
and
y'all
then
like the Black Panther movie? We finna kill Black Panther. Ain't that's
they,
crazy?
they like, look, this black man will not be the face of the MCU.
No.
Cause notice Falcon ain't get snapped, War Machine ain't get snapped. They're like,
Right.
if you a sidekick, you can stay.
That's crazy. Like Black Widow, like you said, Falcon and who else? The other black character?
See, War Machine.
War Machine, right? You got these dudes who survived, who ain't really superheroes without their suits and their equipment. They ain't really much. You could have got rid of them and let me keep Black Panther.
They was like,
Right.
nah, bruh.
Nah, like this is his event that Chadwick Boseman didn't die. I think had he still been alive, they would have brought him back because they brought everybody else back with the time stuff. Like even the Avengers 4, they went back in time and stuff, you know, and changed stuff. But here's the thing. The writers who wrote Endgame made sure to snap that finger and make sure Black Panther is one of the people who get killed in the 50%. Like how he got to be the one to die? That's the writers doing that. Because even Stan Lee didn't write that. Stan Lee did not write that in the comic. That's some stuff y'all did in Hollywood. You feel me? Stan Lee did not kill off Black Panther in the comic. He didn't do that. I'm just saying.
You used to talk about years of Black Panther being there.
Right, I wanted to throw Blue Marvel in there just to give Marvel their flowers because Stan Lee, rest in peace. Stan Lee was he was an activist, right? His comics came out around the time Martin Luther King and Malcolm X was just hitting the scene, and Stan Lee was just getting his feet. So Stan Lee was a real activist type person in real life.
Yeah.
So
he used his stories to be representation. Right.
So,
you know what I'm saying?
And even he confirmed that Magneto and Professor X was the representation of Malcolm X and Dr. King. Like he said that. He kind of gave us the hint to that. He had to make Professor X a white man and Xavier a white man, but all he was really trying to do was bring light to the races by saying humans and mutants, black people, white people. Like he basically that was about. But Stan Lee made sure that there's black representation and these black people are gonna have powers because there's some white characters that don't have powers. You know, let's not be super biased because the Punisher don't have no powers, right? The Punisher, he doesn't have powers.
Okay? Yeah, but the Punisher don't lose, B. Like they be having Falcon be taking L's, son. He be taking mad L's. Like like if you watch the Punisher show, like
but Hawkeye don't have powers. And Hawkeye take L's.
Yeah, he take a couple L's. Right. I'll give you that.
Black Widow take L's. I'm saying like it's some Marvel characters that are not melanated that don't have power. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna say all the black characters always get janitorial situations where they just janitor and they're like. I'm not gonna be that super biased with it because anybody can dig up a series of comics, more than 3, more than 5. And show me black character after black character after black character. It's got actual powers and they significant. So I'm gonna give Marvel their flowers. But when they come back to this gaming though, FGC, fighting game, like Capcom can't be the only company that represent black people. properly in the game. Like this gotta stop.
because Arcsys ain't giving us no love.
This gotta.
It's
not just Arcsys. All of them.
Bandai Namco ain't giving us no love.
Because I feel like Leroy Smith was like a wasted opportunity. That's how I feel. I feel like Harada and Namco destroyed Leroy Smith's image, and they let it go on. They didn't they didn't address none of the BS. They continued to nerf the character, right? To please I got characters I feel like should be nerfed that didn't get nerfed. So how is it? So is my opinion not as strong as another person's opinion? Like, if it's just about nerfing, if we just want to complain about unfairness, which I'm not the type of person to do that. I'm not a gamer who says this character is unfair, therefore you need to nerf this character. I've never been that guy. Do I recognize asinine things and BS in fighting games? Yes, there is some super ridiculous craziness that happens in fighting games. Like, oh my God, that is ridiculous that the character can do that. I'll say that to myself, grumbling while I'm playing. But I'm not going to go on a teary-eyed rant about it. I'm not going to make no YouTube videos about how this character needs to be nerfed. I'm not about to go on the internet and complain about it like this character is not fair and it's crazy that this character can do this and my character can't do that. And I'm not that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But if I just wanted to be, I can name some characters in Tekken that needs to be nerfed, that don't get nerfed. Every time a patch comes out, they either get buffed or they get untouched, but they don't.
Yeah, like look at the people that complained about Happy Chaos, and ain't nothing changed on that. They apparently ain't nobody nerfing him. But
but here's how I nerf Happy Chaos. I don't fight Happy Chaos. Because one thing I'll give Guilty Gear Strive, and I'll give them this: the rank mode tower or any kind of tower. Like when you want to fight somebody on Guilty Gear, you see who they playing with, and you get to decide if you want to fight them or not without no penalty. Like if it says if you in practice mode and it take you to verse screen and say this person wants to fight, you can decline, and they won't penalize you for declining. Whereas Tekken penalize you. It'll you be in practice mode waiting for a fight. It takes you to verse screen. I don't want to fight this person. You leave, you get penalized. It's like the server wants you to fight this person. Well, I don't want to fight that person. I want to fight. I just don't want to fight that character. Well, you got to fight him. I don't want to fight him. I'm going to close application, restart the game. That's a rage quit. That's a disconnect. So the game penalizes you for disconnecting that first screen. But I don't want this fight. Whereas Guilty Gear Strive, you disconnect at first screen. Okay, you didn't want to fight. But it's not even a disconnect. You get yes or no.
Yeah, you just say no. Yeah, you just be like, I don't want to fight.
You don't have that option in Tekken. There's no yes or no. It just throw you into a match. It just connects you, and then y'all connected now. I don't want this fight. Street Fighter, I don't want this fight. Right? But that's not the black representation thing. That's more so matchmaking. That's the matchmaking thing I'm talking about. So I'm not going to get into the matchmaking. That's a different story for a different show for a different day. We can talk about that later. Mainly the representation in gaming for us African folks is null and void, non-existent, or little to none. And then if it's a representation, it's a misrepresentation. Like the dude in Dead or Alive, the so-called air quote black guy in Dead or Alive. That's not a black guy. That's a misrepresentation. Nagori Yuki is a misrepresentation, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I can go Skullgirls. There is no black people in Skullgirls. There's no black girls in Skullgirls. All the black girl magic we hollering about and trending. You got a game called Skullgirls. It's a fighting game that's made up of mostly females in a roster, and none of these females is black.
Oh, I thought it was all females. I didn't know it was any men in that.
Skullgirls is an all-female cast, but none of those females are melanated.
Dang.
None of them.
Not a one? Dang.
Not one. There's no melanated females in Skullgirls. And that's a fighting game you're talking about. No melanated. No melanation. None. Even Power Rangers. Even Power Rangers represented, at least got a black person in it. because the cartoon itself.
Yeah, because of the characters that have played in the show or whatever.
Streets of Rage, good black representation. You got Adam and you got Skate.
Yep. Yeah, you got Adam, you got Skate, and you got Cherry.
And Cherry. Cherry is a new rendition. And then
snap! Hold up, you got Floyd.
Floyd.
Pretty boy Floyd.
I'm saying I fox with that. Because that's a fighting game. It's a beat 'em up, but it's still a fighting game. That's FGC.
Yeah.
Beat 'em up games are fighting games. Just in case anybody was wondering if that was ever a debate, I'm here to set the record straight. A beat 'em up game is a fighting game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a fighting game.
Yeah, because people try to separate those, but it's like it's a branch of the FGC. It's just like platformers.
It's an offshoot.
Platformers aren't traditional fighting games, but there's still a branch of the tree of the FGC.
There's an element. What are you doing in the beat 'em up? You're fighting, right? So
because you have to beat them up.
You have to fight. You're not doing anything else. You're not solving puzzles. You punching, kicking, throwing, punching, kicking, and throwing. And then you beat up a bunch of people, you pick up weapons, you throw stuff. That's a fight. That fight's taking place on the screen. It's a bunch of people on the screen, everybody fights. That's a fighting game. Beat 'em ups are fighting games. I know people don't consider them a fighting.
Oh, hold up. I think Open Mind went blank for a second, but it's all good. He basically, his point was, yes, you know what I'm saying? Beat 'em ups are in fact fighting games, which I totally agree with. You know what I'm saying? People we got too much division in the FGC. You know what I'm saying? Y'all divide too much. Platformers going to let them platformers in. You know what I'm saying? I even though I will say I think they finally let the platformers. I think they finally let, you know what I'm saying, y'all be fighting hard to be like Smash ain't allowed. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be fighting hard to be like Smash ain't allowed, or who else? Or, you know, Brawlhalla ain't allowed. But see, I see y'all change y'all tune for Multiverses though. Multiverses came out, all that nostalgia. Y'all was like, oh man, Iron Giant, Superman, Batman, oh man, Arya Stark, LeBron James. Now they got Stripe from Gremlins coming. Y'all like, Multiverses can stay. It's like, Multiverses, we shall allow it. Approved. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? Look, y'all gotta let the platformers come on in, man. We gotta let them in. Just because someone could say, all right, well, if you wanted to be mad strict, you could be like, well, hey, look, fighting games is 2D, side-scrolling, one-on-one. And that's all fighting games is, because that's all they was. You know what I'm saying? You got to let them in. You know what I'm saying? You got to allow them to have they love too. You got to give them their props. You got to let them be part. You know what I'm saying? You got to let them be part of the story as well. So you know what I'm saying? They part of the FGC tree too. You know what I'm saying? Don't be hating on them. You know what I'm saying? All right, we got Open Mind back. Go on and finish your point, man.
I don't know what happened or when I got cut off. I don't even know what happened. What happened?
You just went blank. But basically you were talking about how beat 'em ups are still part of fighting games, and I just went on and elaborated how, like, yes, they're part, and so are platformers. So stop trying to poo-poo on platformers. You know what I'm saying?
That's all I was really saying. Like, just trying to. I kind of veered off a little bit, but I was just trying to set the record straight in the event that people have been having that debate, because I've seen it here and there, but it's not like a major debate. It's just to say that even in those games that there's black representation. And if those games can do it, Capcom and those games shouldn't be the only companies to represent black people and African people, right? Because I might not like Street Fighter 6 or whatever Capcom game is out. Let's say they give us a game, give us 2 represented African characters, but I just don't like the game. So now it's a waste of opportunity, right? Don't just represent the character. Like, Capcom don't always give you good games, but they still like a good company. So I'm not like trashing them. Like, every game they put out ain't gonna always hit, but they still got a good track record as far as games. Whereas the rest of these fools out here who compete with Capcom, like y'all just throwing a bunch of characters on the roster and saying, "All right, buy my game," but it's like, all right, where the black folks at? And what are black
it's
folks?
like
Black folks, not your color palette black people. I'm tired of color palette black people. That's not a black person.
it's like that's not representation. We want meaningful representation. I don't just want brown color.
I don't want the color palette.
You know, I want someone who feels authentically black, whether they're black from Colombia, whether they're black from America, whether they're black from somewhere in the EU, whether they're black from the motherland, whether they're black from Trinidad and Tobago. I want them to feel authentically black. I don't want them to be like essentially a white character with just black paint or something.
Here's how I know this is intentional. When these fighting game companies do it, take Final Fantasy for example. Final Fantasy VII. Barrett is a black man. I actually see Barrett in my family. The Barrett, Final Fantasy VII Barrett with the gun arm. The remake, not the one from back in the day, because that's words on the screen. I'm talking about the voice actor who played Barrett, the stuff Barrett be saying, the way he talks. It's not, to me, it's not cliche generic. That is how a lot of black folks talk. A lot of like upstanding black men who got some slang about them, but they really kind of like, you know, got they for peace and prosperity and justice, but they ain't all corny with it. They real like just like Barrett got that uncle energy. At least the Final Fantasy remake Barrett, when they gave it a voice actor instead of just words on the screen.
Word up.
This is an RPG I'm talking about, right? Final Fantasy is a Japanese company. Square Enix, that's Japanese. You can't tell me that all these Japanese companies over there, because Japan makes most of our video games, most of them anyway. You can't tell me that in Japan, if you did the research to get Barrett right, how come when y'all make a fighting game, y'all don't care about us, but y'all actually do the research for everybody, all these other cultures? Because how does Japan know anything about Italy? How does Japan know anything about the Middle East? How they know these things? You have to do the research. You have to. How you get it right? How do you get it right when it comes to the other represented characters in your game? Now I'm talking about the ones that's not Japanese. The non-Japanese characters and are represented, their cultures is represented. How you get that right but get us wrong? You know what I'm saying? Somebody doing some research. So you can't tell me you're not doing the research and you just didn't know and we did our best, and you got to understand. No, I don't got to understand, because you actually have people before you during the development process to go out there and do, you know, consultations to make sure you representing this community right, because you don't want no backlash when your game come out. But our community, you just throw a character in there and paint their skin brown, throw them on some generic clothes and call them black. And you know we're not going to do anything. We're just happy to see that our character, a black person there. But is that a real black person? That's not representation. It's not. It's generic BS.
Yo, I think that's the best way to end it. Yo, we done. Straight up, we done with generic BS. We done with generic BS. Like, I ain't going front. Look, you hit that joint on the head, and I've been thinking about them Arcsys games, because I've been looking through other Arcsys games, and I've been like, yo, don't get me wrong, I love my boy Faust, but I'm looking through Arcsys in general. I'm like, yo, where we at?
Where we at? Like, all the way back to Guilty Gear, all of the Guilty Gears. You could take another game, Blaze Blue. I mean, come on, like, where are y'all African people? Y'all ain't got nobody. Even Pocket Fighter, like, even the game Pocket Fighter you was telling me about the last time a while back we did a show. That little game, that little indie game, Pocket Fighter got a brother. He got the whole Koofy hat on and everything. Like, come on. There is no excuse for this. Y'all putting a lot of money into these games.
Rufomonger just finished kind of previewing this game. I
saw that little Night Stalkers or something like that. I saw that.
Yeah, kind of like a dark fantasy game.
I don't think
I looked. I was like, this look like it looks like they're gonna do what Hollywood usually does, which is act acts like there's no black people that are in any type of fantasy at all, and we ain't gonna be represented, and I ain't playing this mess. Like,
I'm
yo,
not playing that joint.
I'm not playing this mess. We tired of generic representation. So with that said, open mind, tell them where they can find you.
I'll let your boy Open Mind, spell it with a Y on Twitter, spell it with a Y on YouTube, and I am Open Mind at IG. How's your boy? I'm a gamer. Been doing this thing for a minute. And make sure y'all subscribe to my fantasy sports channel, separate YouTube channel called the DFS Recap. Spelled like I said it. Feature me and my brother Tanik. We're gonna be doing all things fantasy sports come the first week of September 9th, going forward. We are podcasting fantasy sports only, just fantasy sports. So if you into if you ain't really gotta play fantasy sports, you just like sports, right? We're gonna be talking about players, individual players, who to pick, who not to pick, and just shenanigans all the time. I'm probably the life of the party on the show. My brother Tanik is more, to the point, straightforward, get the job done. He's more responsible than me. So I'm the shenanigans, but that's just what I do. This me and my brother Tanik. Shout out to us. Make sure you follow us on that channel, the DFS Recap.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And of course, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the places. Go in and like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Share this out. Let's keep the conversation going. Let us know what you think below. If you come in here doing some whack stuff, don't expect a reply. But if you cool, you know what I'm saying, we can talk. So
Right up.
oh man, of course, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you know what I'm saying, podcasts, all that jazz. Until next time, this is from us to you, just saying peace.
Peace.